Hey all, Hipper here, and welcome to this video with 5 reasons I quit playing World of Warships Legends. And don't forget to subscribe, of course. In this video, I'll go through the main reasons that I decided to quit playing World of Warships Legends. And I played this game for a long time, since it came out in 2019, I believe, so about 5 years. Clocked up almost 18,000 battles, and I spent a fair amount of money on this game as well. And of course, I also entered the CC program for a few years, and I did a lot of videos on the game, and I really enjoyed it. But all good things come to an end, and for me, the end of World of Warships was sometime last year, in the end of last year, because, well, I just didn't find it fun anymore, and I'll give you the reasons in this video here. So reason number one, not the biggest reason, but, number one here in the video is bad players. And, everyone who plays this game, even if they are a bad player themselves, everybody complains about bad players, and that's not really the problem here. The problem is that Wargaming doesn't do anything about that, because honestly, they are the only ones who can fix this problem. And in such a team-based game here, you need to have some sort of modes that, somehow removes the need for a capable team. And I cannot remember the amount of battles I played where, like this one, I'm the last one left and, totally up against unfair odds, and it's just a matter of time before you get sunk because your whole team doesn't understand any of the basics of the game. Now, is that the player's fault? Not really. It's Wargaming's fault for not, explaining the game carefully enough, and also for letting unexperienced players mix with experienced players in the game. I mean, that's something I've been saying from the beginning, and now I get whacked by this Iowa here, because, yeah, I'm alone. And there are 100 ways to solve this problem but Wargaming hasn't chosen just a single one of those ways to solve this problem. And it just makes me think that perhaps they don't care. So battles like this, like where you are like 1,000 XP in front of your nearest team members, is just ridiculous. Alright, so the second reason is something that really grinds my gears, and it has been doing that forever, ever since I started playing this game here, honestly. And that's that weird, unrelenting focus on doing damage in this game here. Like, for example, Musashi here having the gun layer, 25% shorter fuse time. Okay, that seems fair. Not really. But, I mean, it's not just battleships, it's also cruisers and to a certain extent destroyers, but all the new commanders we get in the game, and also the existing ones, they always seem to focus on damage of some kind. If that's reload, dispersion, or just raw damage, or fire chance or anything like that. It's just a shame, and it's one of the reasons that, there's another reason I don't like the game. It's just, why is this? I don't understand it, because doing this pretty much pigeonholes the game into one way of playing it. That one way usually just involves stacking as many damage skills onto your ships as you possibly can, and then sink everybody else. Now, the main offender on this is this lady here we got last year in New Jersey, Azure Lane, New Jersey, where you can do 15% more damage with Citadel strikes, plus you also get 7% better dispersion. I mean, what? Why isn't at least one of these a negative? But both of them are positive, and they are extremely good positives. And if that's not enough, let's have a look at her base trait here as well. And all shells travel more than 10 kilometers does 5% extra damage. I mean, like, which battleship shells do not travel more than 10 kilometers? So really what this means is that you'll do 5% extra damage no matter what. But if you hit a Citadel, you'll do 20% extra damage. I mean, 20%. That's absurd in a game like this that's so, set in its ways about like having 2 or 3% to something. And it's the same thing with cruiser commanders, especially with fire chance. Now, I know this isn't fire chance, but Chapayev here, like, up the HE shell's damage by 15%. And I know you turn pretty much the fire chance off, but this is a very powerful skill, don't get me wrong. So skills like this are one of the reasons that the game has just been ruined for me, really. Like, there's nothing interesting. There's no reason to build into anything else than damage, because you are, at least at this point in the game, you're just handicapping yourself. And if we look at a commander like Montpellier here, at least it's something different. They tried, okay, let's do a commander that gives you 10% less incoming dispersion. So what we needed was more of this and less of, Ohio's here with Azure Lane, New Jersey commanders on them. It's silly. And it's really toxic for the game, because it, like I said earlier, it pigeonholes people into playing every single battleship with a sniper build. And it just makes the game extremely boring, really. And same thing with, for example, Yamato here with Musashi commander. Yeah, it's just, why is that? So the third reason here is something I've already been touching on a little bit, and it's what I call silly ships. And it's really just ships that are made for, hard carries, like ships that are pretty much overpowered. Let's just be honest here. And Worcester is one of the main offenders here. This ship is ridiculous. It's got a 32mm bow, and it's got insane DPM, absolutely crazy DPM, and it's also got a radar. Like, why? Like, why would you play any other ship than this ship if you're playing a cruiser, right? Or this ship, or like maybe 1, 2, 3 other ships. So there's hundreds of ships in the game, but most of them are just not played because they're not competitive. And the same thing goes for Des Moines. It's also just an absolute damage spitting nightmare, especially in the hands of a good player who, understands how to use concealment for their advantage. A good player can single-handedly win probably 80% of their battles in this ship here or in Worcester. And that's just ridiculous. And it means that if someone else wants to win, they have to play the same ship, and the ship is boring, and you can't really play the ships that you want to play because, well, they're not really competitive, especially if you don't have the really good commanders going with them. So again, a reason why damage is just, the end of this game, in my opinion. Alright, the fourth reason is something that I know a lot of people share, and it's the bureau. I mean, what is the point of this? You see how many bureaus I have left because I just don't want to do them. I don't want to play the battles that it tells me to play in the ships that it tells me to play, because some of the ships I don't like, and I'm definitely not going to play them. I'm a busy man. I do not want to play ships that I don't like. So the bureau is just like poison to me. And, it made sense in the beginning when legendary ships came out. Okay, yeah, there's some legendary ships in here. You can pick which one you want, and you have to research it. Okay, fair enough. But, like, keep adding ships in here, like 2-3 years later? No. It's ridiculous. And it also allows, inexperienced players to get legendary ships without any effort. So what's the main reason I stopped playing? Well, it's all the other, reasons put together, and it just ends up with there's no diversity in this game here. Like, if you want to win, you just stack damage on your ships. And I love the fact that Wargaming brought in these modifications here, legendary and epic modifications. But again, they are all about damage. They are all about reload or range or, damage. And, legendary boost 5% extra damage. Again, damage. It's all damage. And it's just enough. It's the equivalent of everybody in Diablo playing a barbarian with a two-handed sword, for example, or something like that. And everybody has to have the exact same legendary two-handed sword because it's the best in the game. And what does that mean for the rest of the game? Well, it might as well not be there, because if you want to be competitive, you have to have the barbarian, or the Yamato with whatever, or Ohio with New Jersey commander, because otherwise you won't win. So, I mean, it's just such a shame. Such a shame. So I was expecting, for the Rudder legendary mods, which we haven't got yet. It's been nearly a year and it hasn't materialized, and I don't know why. Because, the game is about damage now, apparently. So, I mean, why don't they give us some legendary mods for cruisers that would, make up for these, let's be honest here, pretty crazy increases in particularly battleship power and also fire chance for cruisers and just cruiser damage output in general. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, a fair legendary modification for a cruiser, for example, if you pick the the acceleration, for example. So if you go more than 35 knots, let's say that's just an example, you get 25% less incoming dispersion, for example. Another one for the rudder modification legendary could, for example, be, well, if you have less than 2.5 second rudder, for example, you will spot torpedoes 200 meters earlier or whatever, something like that. Or you will cap 20% faster or something like that. Something that's not about damage, please. But it never happened, and the way that the game has been going the last year is totally squarely against, this is going to be a damage-focused game. And like I said, well, that's just Diablo with, barbarians only, and wow, that would be extremely boring, and that's also why Legends has become extremely boring. And another example here that I wanted to just include in the video here is the whole Lepanto debacle here. Now, this was a ship that was different, and it allowed new strategic plays, like for example what I'm doing here. You just push into the cap and then you are able to get at the cruiser's soft sides. Something that you can't really do in other battleships because you would be burnt down by the time that you would actually be able to complete this maneuver here. But for some reason, and yeah, I get it, it was perhaps a little bit too powerful. But again, the way Wargaming dealt with this was just to completely remove this aspect here from the game. And they turned down the reload of the secondaries, which was wrong. What they should have done is, was to turn down the range of the secondaries. Now, with this build here, I got it to almost 10 kilometers, which is a little bit silly. But turn that range down to 5-6 kilometers, but keep the reload, keep the DPM. Because it allows you to take some, chances and play the game in a different way, instead of the exact same way that every battleship plays this game here. And it was fun for a while. And now it's not fun because Lepanto was nerfed and the game is back to the way it always was. So this is just an example here I wanted to include. So that's the reason I left World of Warships Legends, and I might come back. Perhaps if the game is eventually, rolled out on mobile so we get a bigger audience. Because, this is a niche game, it always has been. But a mobile rollout could really help it, because it is an excellent game. It's just not being, the roadmap is a little bit wonky, and it has really hurt the game the last year here. So maybe, who knows, but for now I have no interest in playing this game here, because it takes too much of my time to get any sort of enjoyment out of it. The incredibly bad player base and the wonky mechanics and, the reasons I've already gone through are, pretty much the last straw. So that's why. Hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions, put it in the comments, and I'll see you out there.